What's going on, ghosts and ghoulies, boys and girls? Welcome to the Everything Paranormal Show with Josh Morris and Stacy Talich. Good to see you guys tonight. Stacy, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I am excellent. I am got a lot of good news today, folks. We got all kinds of stuff we're going to discuss. So don't just think you're going to see like everything in the beginning of the show. Stick through the whole show. There's all kinds of different little. I'm telling you guys, some of you guys like watch the first like 5 minutes and you're like cool, and then you dip out, and then you like forget like there's so many other crazy things that happen in the show. Stick with this show. We have a lot of different things to discuss. We're going to be discussing the dead, meaning paranormal stuff, the dead. Who knows? We usually like to start with a generic topic and we just whittle it down, man. Also, we've got a variety of news on the channel, some cryptic stuff. There's some not so specific things, but we're going to talk about a few different things. I'm in a good mood. Let's see. Stacy, how I guess what are you thinking about tonight? What are you thinking about the dead in general? You like that subject? I know you like the subject. Are you feeling anything specific tonight that you want to work towards?
Well, the dead have been for months now. Uh, since the beginning of this year, they've been very uh, active. I can't even say agitated. They're in some ways apoplectic because there's so much that is going on. They want to help humanity with that, and we're just at this precipice, this crossroads that globalists and the Illuminati and the wars and all this other stuff that's coming is got everybody living and dead, up in arms. Um,
Yeah.
and there this kind of activity usually it was like this according to many people who documented it at the time, just prior to World War I and World War II. There was a lot of things that the dead were in seances and in uh, a lot of the table tipping seances that they had at the time, which was
Right.
great. They talked about war all the time, as be prepared, get ready. A lot of people were going to die, and it was true. Um, 60 million people were killed, not just died, but were killed in the first half of the 20th century. And it's getting to that point all over again. And, you know, it, without being all doom and gloom, the dead themselves are very anxious about what is taking place. Because as humanity is concerned, we have big decisions to make. And the people who are in control are feeble, crusty old men who don't care about anything except, you know, the moment. And
Yeah. I mean, and that's true. And I would just say too that it's tough because people right now are struggling to find a balance of, do I live my life normal? It's kind of hard to live normally because then you got to prepare for things, you got to prepare for the worst. So I always say try to find that balance, prepare for the worst, keep trying to live your life. And who knows, maybe things will work out in the end, maybe they won't. I mean, it's really hard to say. So just do your
yeah,
best.
I mean,
Stay educated.
yeah, the only advice that I really have on that front is listen to your gut, because a lot of times that's what it feels like when the dead are talking to you. Is it feels like that gut visceral, should I or shouldn't I, and you second guess yourself. That's your protecting guide spirits trying to direct you to do something. Don't brush that off.
Right.
If they're telling you to get prepared for starvation, buy that a little extra bag of rice, or um, don't make that right turn, make the left turn instead, or wait a beat before crossing that intersection. Listen to it. there is a lot of things that they're trying to watch out for in how we are progressing in this evolution of humanity.
So I want to actually kind of segue from what you're talking about into something, which is, you know, people sometimes want to get into certain things, pendulum sessions, dowsing rod sessions, and consult with tarot readers and things like that, And I encourage it. Again, I always say be safe, open and close your sessions. Or if you are the type, then you're going to want to have some cool stuff. And having cool stuff, I want to show you guys. So this is one of my things that is going to be going up on the Etsy store. And I'm just going to set this up real quick, and then we'll switch over. Let me see here. Let's get a good view. Oh wait, I didn't share this. Hold on. Oh man, I just took it away. I'm stupid. Never mind, guys. Hold on. There we go. All right, there we go. So you can see here a nifty little pendulum stand. You can see here it folds up. It's wood. It's handmade. Okay. So it's nice. It expands out. And this is actually stained in a red oak to represent a fire element. Of course, I have my blue lapis lazuli on here. But you can see here, if you want a nice display for your pendulum stand, you can see this is something that I make, and this will be on the store. I just wanted to let you guys. Oh my God, Bob, what's going on?
Holy hell, man. Hey, Bob.
It's so good to see Bob in the chat. Oh, we missed you, buddy. And I hope I don't know how long you'll be able to hang out tonight, but I hope you get to hang out for a while. Let's get us back off here. Hold on.
Bob got to the man cave.
You got to the man. I'm glad. So that's awesome. So Terry Lynn, hey Terry Lynn, Bob's here in the chat. So it's good to see you guys. So yes, we just started the show. We were just getting into some things. Again, showing you guys some stuff. There's a variety of things we got going on, and I wanted to start a little bit with some positive news and updates for the channel and the direction and things like that. So as some of you know, maybe some of you don't know, maybe some of you are kind of newer here. So on the Everything Paranormal Show YouTube channel, we try to do a variety of things, and we have a subsection called Beyond the Veil. It's kind of like almost like a channel on a network. It's its own kind of show. We do a lot of tarot readings and dowsing rod sessions. That's usually what we deem the Beyond the Veil. So usually when it comes to spirituality, stuff like that, you'll find that under our Beyond the Veil show. Also, we have the live show that we do every Thursday, myself and Stacy, and sometimes Stacy joins me on some of the Beyond the Veil shows. Yes, I'm so glad Bob gets to hear us and be in the chat. It's so good. It's like that one piece of missing puzzle that we had for a while. We just the chat felt a little more vacant without you, buddy. But yes, and so now we also have the Pair Explorers. Pair Explorers is a series. It's a like a TV series kind of deal, and you can find that on the streaming platform called Paraflix. Paraflix has been blowing up over the last year or so. In fact, Stacy introduced me to it, and next thing you know, I'm on Paraflix. So we got the show. It debuted last year, did really well. The first episode, unfortunately, we just ran into some filming issues in the second half of the year. I got COVID during like the October season. So you guys know this past like September, October, like Halloween season, I wasn't on top of my game. I was battling with COVID and everything else. So it was a rough half of the year. This year, we have a lot more encouraging news. We are resuming filming Para X. If you guys watch the show, you know that there's a sort of a mystery character named Para X, and we have gotten some new orders from Para X. So filming has finally started to resume, and very happy about that. I can't give away any locations just yet, but I can tell you that the next episode, I'm just going to give you a clue. No other place has filmed there. So that's a fun fact. And there's actually going to be a guest star there. So according to Para X, I don't know who it is yet. I will find out on location. So that's big news. I'm excited. So as you guys know, Para X dictates the rules of the investigation, if you will, and we have to follow those. And one of the rules, I'm just giving you a teeny smidgen, is that there will be a guest star there at the on set. So I'm super excited. I can't wait. And unlike the first episode, the debut episode, almost that was like the rule was like I had to go alone. Guys, I get to take some team members this time. So I believe Terry Lynn is wanting to go, and I think we got another guy that I'm trying to get a hold of. I think his phone was shut off, maybe, and of course the guest star. I'm excited, guys. That's all I can really get into, but I can just tell you it's going to be great. I can't wait to get that filmed and accomplish that. I pray we accomplish the mission and be able to give you guys a good episode. So I'm so happy that Para Explorers is going to be back. We may even have some additional news about the show itself, but I can't talk about that yet. We've just got a lot of great things that we are looking into. There's some other remote locations that we are looking at going to, maybe even Alabama, a few places, a few other states around. We'll see. So I'm just going to kind of give you all a heads up and let you know we're out and about. We're starting to film over the next few months. A variety of locations, and a lot of them are going to be fairly unique. That's the great thing about Para Explorers. You're not always going to those big box locations like Penhurst and all the places that you've seen 100 times with 100 different investigators. You're going to see some unique locations with some rules set there, and hopefully we can achieve all these missions. And I'd love to complete this quest. That's all I can say, because I'm afraid what happens if I don't, because it said severe consequences. But yeah, Bob, I mean, I'm just glad to see you in chat. So however long you can, that's awesome. But yes, also crystals. All right, guys. So if you've kind of noticed sometimes when I go to the big view, let me add this in here. So let's see. Let me move this over here. So if you guys notice over here, you see like I've been adding more and more crystals in here. Some resin, some real, and even like this tiger's eye sphere. Oh my god, I wish you guys could see this. This is like, anyways, you're not gonna be able to see this right now, but man, this thing is like, this tiger's eye sphere is awesome. I mean, look at some of this stuff. This is not resin. All right, this is awesome. I love it. So it's like a lapis lazuli tower. But yeah, and this sparkly tower right here, look at that. Now this is resin that Terry Lynn made. So that's a resin tower, really awesome. And usually the only thing that they're still great from the real gemstones to the resin. They're almost identical in certain ways, except obviously the resin, you can touch it and it's like room temp, whereas like the crystals, it has that colder, like actual stone or rock feel. So anyways, crystals. We got a ton of crystals that we've been getting. And if you guys haven't noticed by now, one of the videos we just did a review on fad keys. It's really cool. You get, you buy a couple scoops of crystals for dirt cheap. It's like from China. And what's cool is we did a review. and we gave it 4 thumbs up. I mean, me and Terry Lynn, we unboxed. They gave us a great ton of crystals. Like I said, that tiger's eye was from there. That lapis lazuli tower. There was a ton of other stuff that my wife kept. Just a ton. You guys will have to check out that video. So I didn't want to spoil it for you, but it we were kind of leery because it's like China, right? But and the thing is, they ship fast too. I mean, it was like here in a week. I mean, it's crazy. They and it came from China. It wasn't like a warehouse here. But what's really cool is they do it live and they do the scoops, live, and they even tell you to take screenshots. So like you're not going to get like the old switcheroo or anything. And the stuff comes, it's real. And so we did do a review. I would recommend guys go check that video out when you get a chance. I like the shiny. Unfortunately, I've become a regular. They know me by name. Yes, Terry Lynn has been spending some money on the scoop people, but I mean, they get huge crystals for so cheap. It's not regulated as much as like in the States. The States, they freak out, if you go try to mine any kind of crystals anywhere half the time. So in China, they're just like, they're probably out there poaching crystals all over the place, but it's like they got a never-ending supply of them. But oh man, it just seems like so much I want to tell you guys. I know Stacy's like, I've just been sitting here for the last 10 minutes, but
it's okay.
Right. It's just a lot of things to kind of fill y'all in on stuff. So let's start out with, let's do a daily tarot reading, because even though I don't do a lot of the tarot reading on the Everything Paranormal show, let's do one, because why not? We got Bob here. This is going to be good advice for people.
April Fool's Day tomorrow. Might as well get it in.
Yeah, April Fool's Day, and we can talk a little bit about that. I'm going to let Stacy talk a little bit about some more of the history of that. Maybe not so much April Fool's Day, but the 1st of April. We'll talk a little bit about that. That's they used to have what was it? Shortly after in May, didn't it? Was Lemuria?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have May Day. 1st of May. Okay, so now I cleared the energy. We're going to now remember, if you're watching this tarot is going to apply to you. This message is going to be for you. But tarot is going to give us a reading on. Is going to give us some guidance for tomorrow. Okay. This card right here and this one right here. And I'm sorry I haven't been doing a lot of readings here lately on the BeyondDeVeil stuff. We just got super busy with everything. Plus, my son's high school tennis career started. So between working and that and the other little bit of filming and the other stuff we've been doing, it's been crazy. Oh, we got some nice stuff. So we got the 6 of Cups, and we've got the Star. So this is really going to be about reaching out and with the person, reaching out to somebody you love and creating new memories. That's what this is. If you look at the picture, it's like a little boy and a little girl, or stand there with a cup of flowers, and they're just basically making some new memories. Let's see if I can show you in this camera there. So they're just making some new memories. But I'm gonna go ahead and read you guys, and then we'll look at the clarifier, like the Star. I'll talk a little bit about that and what that means to everything as well. So let's look at the 6 of Cups first. Give me a second here, and I'll give you guys the technical definition. But the 6 of Cups means reach out to someone that you care about and share a memory or create a new one. So guys, tomorrow, just reach out to somebody that you care about and just share a memory or start a new one. But the Star, let's clarify that.
I'm pretty sure we don't need a lot of clarification, but the star represents hope and vision for the future. What do we see as our life purpose and how do we get to it? But it's about hope and inspiration, promise, purpose, and faith. So, um, so yes, that's some good stuff for tomorrow. And Bob, I really hope this means something to you too. Bob, because it does to me. So there's hope and there's wisdom and reaching out to people that you care about and sharing memories. So do that tomorrow. I like that one. I think that's a super positive one. What do you think about that, Stacy?
I think it's perfect. May old acquaintance be forgot. Bringing you into the new year, which is what April Fools is actually used to be. It used to be the new year until the Christian calendar came along and made January 1st the new year, and a way of discouraging pagans from continually to celebrate the new year on April 1st. They called April 1st, April Fool's Day, because they were fools for, following the old calendar, which was more lunar than solar.
Right.
But traditionally, all the way up until, 1,000 years ago, it was, April 1st was the beginning of the year. And you pulled the perfect cards for that.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. It felt good. I felt good energy too when I grabbed the deck. I think some of that transferred for me, possibly because, again, being in a good mood, but when I picked up the deck, having that connection, it was like I felt like, hey, I think this is gonna be good. So I'm really glad to hear that. Thinking about one last article about how our knowledge gains effects on our own, that our knowledge gain affects our own morality once we must face it. Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I hope to get to see your I definitely want to read your article, which, by the way, Bob's article should appear right here. And again, I want to get off this screen. Actually, I meant to do this and this. Okay, so right here above me, Paranormal Underground magazine, guys. All right, right here. Bob Fountain is a writer in that magazine, and but the Cheryl Knight and them, they own the magazine. Again, guys, go get the magazine. Go to the website, paranormalunderground.net. Tell them that I sent you, and you will get it for free in your email every first of the month. It's awesome. I'm telling you, full on magazine. What else do we got? But Terry Lynn, yeah, no goodbyes, Bob. Love to see you. And I want your book too. Yes, hopefully if Bob gets a book released, that would be nice, especially if it's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Hint, hint.
Well, POD books can do that now. I mean, you can get on Amazon just by putting on a POD book. So, and they're fast. They go from draft to publish it in a few weeks. So.
Well, I actually think Bob is, I don't want to spoil it for everybody or but one of the things is, we're looking forward to is Bob is getting ready to release a book. So this is something that's pretty much a done deal and about out. So
cool.
Just waiting for the final bit there. So I see you. What's going on? Glad to see you popped in here tonight because Bob's in the chat. This is kind of a nice reunion in the chat. So that's always cool. But I'll let Bob field all that. But yes, we were just waiting on a book from Bob. So I can't wait. Cannot wait for that to happen. And yes, guys, I will be promoting it just about as much as I promote mine. Which I now made sure that I have a copy of my book again in my studio because I didn't have it. I couldn't do any shameless plugs. So now, go get my book. before Bob releases his and outsells me, which is fine. I hope he does. All right. Should be hard. But no, you guys have done really good supporting my book. I really appreciate it. I have always had really good feedback from anybody that reads it, so I always appreciate that. Let's see what else, man. There's so much stuff. Oh, I got my tarot box done for the most part. I guess it's a red mahogany.
Nice.
Huh?
I said nice.
Yeah, it's red mahogany, but now that's kind of what I was trying to get tarot to narrow down the stain of what to do for the box. So that's about as close as I could get it. So hopefully my deck of cards will be happy at me. So like I said, between the and I know you guys, I know we had Bob come in. So, but look, here's that stand. So you guys can kind of see it a little bit better now. So you can see here, it just flips out. It's got a spot for your pendulum. So there you go. And that all those things are going to be available on our Etsy shop real soon. So if you guys want a nice pendulum stand like that, or you want a nice gift box, we're going to be doing a lot more of those things. Plus, we're going to have some crystals and some other cool stuff on there too that we've been working on. We got a whole craft kind of whole workshop. We've been working on some stuff. We just didn't want to put 2 things on there. So we're trying to build a few things up, and then we're gonna put like a good little selection of things, and then you guys will be able to order
Ouija boards.
But yeah, thank you, ICU. So yeah, that was a handmade pendulum. It's a wood handmade pendulum stand. Again, that was red oak stained for fire element. I'm getting ready to do an aqua for the water element, so I can't wait to show you guys that one. I think that's going to come out really cool. And it's not going to be like here, you can see it's got kind of that, ornate siding. It's going to actually have almost like a rope kind of design to almost represent like a nautical type thing. You'll have to see it, and then it's going to be like a aqua kind of bluish stain. It's going to be pretty cool. So like I said, that's going to represent the water element. And if you're an earth fan, we can do natural or like a blonde stain, things like that, so we're going to have availability. Or if you're dark and you want like an ebony stain, we can go dark. We can go plain, ornate, different designs. So Facebook user, hey, not sure. Look, seriously, it's always like Facebook year. I never know who it is. Hey. So yes, and then Terry Lynn's working on a beautiful Ouija board. So yes, we have, and you know what too? Terry Lynn's made some cool little planchettes but they're not just like they're planchettes, but they're like pop sockets for your phone. They're like mini planchettes that go on your phone. Like the pop pocket things. Yeah, it's really cool. So she made those. She just has to do the lettering, but she already cast them and everything. They came out really nice. I think we had some what'd you do, honey? I think you did like some gold. Oh, Brittany. Hey, Brittany. I don't know why it's saying for. I think because if you don't go in and do the permission thing with StreamYard and do the permission with Facebook, it doesn't show your name. But yes, but Terry Lynn's working on like little pop socket planchettes. We're working on an actual full size spirit board that she's working on, and of course some minis, I think. But just a variety of things. We're working on a variety of things. Crystal molds, again, things like this, where it's like a black sparkle kind of thing. Or if you're like a fan of just like clear crystals like me, here's one. This is a resin cast right here. But they look cool. They look cool for decorations. I mean, you're probably not going to go and make them into necklaces and all that because, they are resin. But we also we'll have a lot of like real crystals for sale too. I really like that. I love the whole kind of lapis lazuli look to it, where it's kind of like that blue, earthy looking color at time, or like ocean. I don't know. I like that though. There's some really cool ones coming out. I've got some. Taylor's build me some bracelets also that I've requested because I've just got my survivor one and a survival. I'm waiting for some cool ones. So waiting on some gold acrylic paint to come in. Yeah. Oh yeah, for some of the lettering and stuff too. So Bob says in process for the book, but publisher assures me paranormal book's still better than expected. So I hope so. FYI, I bought Josh's book. Yes, Bob. That's how I still remember. That's how we met, like at the book signing event in Outer Realm Fest when I was there doing my book signing stuff, and we met there. So that's awesome. If I sell my crystals, I love them so much. You got to sell some of them. She's already amassing a small collection of stuff, but you know, some of the stuff that we'll sell a few of the things to you. They'll be fairly inexpensive. We try to give you guys good prices. All right, so what else do we want to talk about? We're at like a half hour of the show. We really haven't covered any subject matter. We've just been talking about updates and future events and cool things. Bob's been in the chat. So when is Stacy doing a book? His knowledge is amazing and would be a great read.
I've started a book several times and junked it because I don't want a book about myself. And somewhere along the way, it always seems to turn back on me. So it's not I don't want to do a biography or autobiography or anything like that. I want to do a book that's about, spirits and being able to help others, develop that relationship. And, I don't know why it always seems to turn in on me and I stop. So
that's why you got to start the book like me. Start it with the beginning little part was about me and a brief history of my paranormal journey up to that point. And then you can get into all your theory and stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
You get it off your chest in the beginning.
I did that. I got chapter, I can't even say chapter 1. It's more or less like the forward to the book. Again, I've gone through this many times over the last 30 years, and it just doesn't. I even did a couple books on politics to get it out of my system, and of course those flew over like a lead balloon, and I haven't turned back on doing a spiritual book yet.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be tough because sitting down and actually writing and doing a book. I mean, I remember when I was writing my book, of course, I had to keep it a secret. I mean, I didn't have to, but I had to do it for myself, and it's hard because it requires attention and just time, and you got to sit down and there's just a lot to it, and it can take a while to do that. So it's not always an easy challenge, that's for sure. But
yeah, and some of the things that I really want to talk about, I am prohibited from talking about because
right.
the religion that I'm in is mystery religion, which means that you have to actually be in it to know it. And if you're not, you can't talk about it. It is very fraternal in that way, like Skull and Bones kind of.
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah,
we don't talk about Fight Club, but it keeps getting bigger. Yeah. Somebody's talking about it. Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense, So, all right. So we can talk about ghosts and whatnot as well a little bit. Because I definitely want to talk a little bit about some paranormal. I'm excited. I'm excited for, like I said, for some upcoming filming and things like that. So, one of the subjects I was thinking about here recently is, what about when remains get moved? When burial remains get moved from one place to another. Um, what is kind of the right way, and then can they be disturbed? Can the spirits maybe, if okay, so I guess my question is this: if spirits were laid to rest, let's say they were laid to rest properly, they were given a ceremony, somebody sent them away with some good words, but then years later their grave is disturbed and relocated to another place for no real good reason. Maybe a building is going to get put up there or something, so they relocate these graves. um, can that disturb a spirit? Can something can the spirit that was at rest become unrest again?
Well, there is no universal yes or no to that, because cultures themselves have developed a level of I don't even want to say superstition, but a belief system of what happens to the dead after you die. Um, some are like in Christianity, you can do that as long as you move them from one consecrated ground to another consecrated ground. That's where they're allowed to be at rest. If you move them from unconsecrated ground to consecrated ground, spirits that are in limbo or in a state of purgatory can actually be at rest at that point. Uh, but you get the wrath of spirits if it goes the other way, where it's consecrated ground to unconsecrated ground. Like they just decided they were going to move a church's uh, graveyard to a field out in the middle of a cornfield, and that they were just going to bury them out there. That can create sort of um, uh, spirits to rise from the grave, I guess, and you know put forth some wrath. But again, it is all level to respect where the spirit is on the other side, because not all spirits move north or even sideways when they cross, when they die. Some of them go south, and then you've got a whole other scenario going on. But that's basically around the Christian. Now, Native American, it's tribe by tribe. They all have their own belief systems of what happens to it for the dead. Some of them have burial mounds where it's like a pyramid, like ancient Egypt, and you disturb those graves, and it is curse upon you and 7 generations. Other tribes, on the other hand, have burials, what they call sky burials, where they essentially chop up the body, throw it on a big pile of bones, and birds pick it clean. And there's really no burial involved. It's just nature feeding back in on itself. So that kind of thing is, once the vessel is empty, the vessel is empty. There's no physical attachment to this world at all. So there's no disturbing the dead. It's really a cultural thing on whether or not those spirits following that culture will respond to their grave being moved.
Right.
And the ancient Egyptians, they had a whole thing on it too. You even bust the door into the, and everybody dies. Anybody who is the burglars did it. Their grandkids. It doesn't matter. Egyptian mummy curses are wicked, and it's not like they didn't tell you. They write it all over the walls.
Right.
It's going to be come in here and abandon all hope kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they probably, because like think about if we did the same thing as humans and we buried ourselves in, like a vault, and we wrote all over the walls. Do not enter. You'll have a curse. You'll be dead. But let's say 5,000 years from now, nobody can even read English, hardly, except for some select people, here and there. So, you got to look at it from that perspective too. Like these grave robbers probably didn't even, read or couldn't even read the writing on the wall, so to speak. Even though rightfully so, they were grave robbers. They probably should have been cursed. But I'm just saying, like, it is interesting to think about it like from that perspective as well. Like, hey, 5,000 years from now, is somebody going to know English? And from all the warnings or the things that we have written down, will we just be another civilization that they're, digging up from the dirt?
Well, I mean, think on the level of Abraham Lincoln. For 20 years, they said that his ghost haunted the house. And ironically, during that time period, I mean, even Kennedy said that he saw the ghost of Lincoln. But for 20 years after Abraham Lincoln's death, his tomb was constantly in motion. He had his own tomb in Illinois. Somebody from the South, tried to steal the body and hold it at ransom for, some money, because they wanted essentially compensation for the war. They caught the guy because he was just a drunk anyway. He was in a bar all the time, and they knew who he was. But there was this whole society that was built around Lincoln's cabinet, that they rotated his body around in different vaults, and once a year would go and inspect the vault and inspect the body to make sure that he was still there. And it almost became like a secret society kind of thing where children were invited once a year. They had barbecues outside the tomb and all kinds of different things. And Lincoln's son caught on to what was going on. And he took the body, found it, put it in a tomb, and then buried like 30 feet of concrete over the top of it. So no one could go in and disturb his father's.
Right.
And after that, the hauntings of Lincoln at the White House subsided greatly. So.
Well, Bob said in the chat, he said, I have had an investigation where loggers simply bulldozed the headstones and created unwanted activity. Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like, I think when there's things like that happen. Now, I'm not saying that, like, let's say you have 100 graves, and there may be a few spirits that are still kind of lingering around. Because typically, let me back up. I don't always think a lot of modern or certain graveyards are haunted. People don't typically die at the graveyard. Okay. There's no reason for them to hang out there. Their spirit hasn't detached from the body there at the graveyard. Usually they're going to be at a home or a hospital or somewhere else that the spirit does. But in some cases, there is quite a few, I've been to quite a few cemeteries where, yes, there seemed to be some activity. Some of them usually were either historic cemeteries where they were also battlefields at one time, where they may have actually died of that. Or again, sometimes people, they no longer have their homes. Their homes were no longer exist anymore. They were torn down or fell down a long time ago, 100 years ago. So you get some of these people hanging around. So I think that there is some cemeteries where you're going to have a few spirits that are hanging around, probably just chilling. And then along comes, expansion and just loggers or whoever. And, especially those cemeteries that are kind of overgrown and abandoned, and they just come through and start plowing through headstones. And guess what? I think that, yes, you're going to rile up a few of those spirits. Are you going to rile up every single grave and every single spirit that had passed away? No. But yes, I do believe that some spirits will get riled up. especially out of 100 or however many, you're going to have a couple spirits that's going to be disturbed. That's what I feel.
Yeah, well, it really comes down to their own attachment to this physical plane. That was the last tangible thing that they had to this earth, and if they fear letting go of that, they're gonna, maintain a tether to it, um, uh, an orbit, whether it be the bones or something else that was put in the casket with them. And on that note, the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery. A cemetery is a standalone garden of monuments with bodies in it. A graveyard is an extension of a church and on its property. Um, Graveyards rarely are, bulldozed over simply because they're in a courtyard with the church itself, the building, the structure. Cemeteries can basically be enveloped by nature because there's nothing else there except the stones that, unless it's maintained. So,
Right.
Civil War cemeteries, especially private owned, family cemeteries, will, get enveloped, and people will start building on stuff they didn't even know was there.
Right.
You know, Especially if the house was taken away in a hurricane. There's, no real way of marking that the cemetery is still there when it's all overgrown, trees and plants and all that. So, happens
Yeah,
all the time.
I don't know. I mean, I know that as humans, if we continually bury humans and then make the grave sites um, like sacrilegious, if you mess them up or anything, if you keep making it super sacred, then eventually we're going to run out of room. The living and the dead will meet, and we're going to be wanting to bulldoze some cemeteries or something. I don't know. It's a fickle thing. I don't I don't necessarily think I don't think we have to worry about that in the near future. I think maybe some areas they have to worry about, but
Depends on how many dead suddenly show up on the scene. You know, you have
right.
piles of bodies. Not everybody's going to get their own grave.
I don't. I mean, like I said, I've gone to a lot of cemeteries at night in the past. That's how I started out in paranormal. Back when I was a teenager, and going to cemeteries, having fun, goofing around. And yes, there was times when things might happen, but I had always blown it off as I was a teenager hanging out in cemeteries at night. So, I never know if it was a local that was trying to sneak up on us and get us in trouble, or if it was just imagination or things like that. Until I got older, and then again, there was always a few little things that may or may not happen in a cemetery. But I don't know. I do think that if you disturb some of these graves, I think there's a right way and a wrong way. If the graves need to be relocated, like you were talking about, where you were talking, and I think it's just a respect. I don't even think to me, it doesn't even have to be necessarily a religion, but, you know, just the respect of that the people that lived on this earth before us, of if we have to move their remains, if they have to be relocated, that it's done respectfully and that they are placed in another area that's, a nice place, or another like equal or greater value, right? Like they like to say, replaced by something equal or greater value. So, uh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you go to in let's say my religion, there's the main guardian of cemeteries and graveyards is called Oya, and she is a uh, she's about passion, she's love, but at the same time, she's a protector of the dead, and she watches over the graveyards and cemeteries to make sure nobody steals from the dead. And she's represented in nature as the tornado. When she's pissed off at you, she can literally, like the finger of God, come down and squish you like a bug, and then move and not affect anybody else. Um, she's one that is revered and really, really respected. So going into a cemetery, if you take anything, you have to give something in return. Like if you're going to take old flowers off of a grave, you have to put fresh flowers to replace it, or
Right.
give some tobacco, or even some coins. If you're going to take a little bit of dirt or whatever, nothing is free. You can't. Nothing in there is a free for all. If anything, it's take a penny, leave a penny. It's um, something that really needs to be respected.
Bob Bob said, I believe the only spirits that are still attached to their egos and won't leave until higher sources convince them they are just part of multiple egos, maybe. So yeah, I mean, I can see what you're talking about, egos and stuff. I mean, I know I've talked about often that I think when I talked about spirits in when I talked about death in my book, I did talk about the two types of passing, expected and unexpected. That's how I sum up all death. Either you're expecting to pass away or you're not. I think when there's an expected death, you have time to prepare, um, and you have time to sort of, I guess you'd say, get right with everything. And so when that passing comes, I think there's that procedure. I think that there's relatives. I think there's or other spirits slash angels, whatever you want to call them. Whatever terminology. Okay, because to me, it's all the same. But when these other spirits, because there's a ton of reports when people are near death's door, when they know they're passing away, they've got relatives there. They've talked about it. They've talked about other beings in the room that were not their relatives. So, but you're leaving the physical body. You're leaving the physical body, and you are becoming energy. Okay, even though we have some energy going on right now, but you know what I mean. We're leaving the meat carcass, right? We're going to that energy, and guess what? We don't have a mouth to talk with. We don't have hands to grab things or feet to walk on. Okay, we don't have that. So at this point, it's like you're new. You're like a newborn in a new world, and I think that's why people that report these things, that's why it seems like there's a welcoming party to help usher your energy to the right place, whether it's to the light, as they always talk about the light. So whether they're ushering you to that light, wherever that light takes you, it might take you to another dimension, might take you to heaven, it might take you to a staging area for judgment. Who knows, right? Well, some people, they say they know, but I'm just saying, in theory, you never know. The point is that I believe when you have it now, when you have unexpected deaths, I think that yes, the light can appear. There does seem to be that gravitational effect that you also hear about. People are drawn to the light. Remember the whole "don't go to the light, man. Don't go to the light." Like, don't go to the light. There's I feel like that's an indication that there really is a gravitational type of pull to help energy, again, non-physical people that you're not able to walk, through mind and control and things like that. Your energy is still in a conscious form in that sense, so you can move around once you get used to it. Some of them do. Some of them just mind over matter. They're like, I got to get away from the light. I got to go. They're scared. They don't want to be judged. Whatever it is. Some of them avoid the light. A lot go to the light. Some don't. And that's where we typically find some of these spirits. But also, we also have a lot of spirits that are just hanging out, waiting. So who knows? But I just wanted to say, when that whole long explanation that I was talking about is I do kind of cover a little bit of what I think happens in that sense. So I don't always think it's just egos that keep people behind. I think, again, sometimes it's that unexpected death. Maybe they're afraid of judgment. Some people are afraid. Maybe they have fear that they weren't a good enough person because of their beliefs, and they were afraid that they're not going to go to heaven, or something like that. So
I
who
will
knows?
say this. I will say this though, on a side note, uh, what has been consistent in what the dead have said, in not just my own personal experience, but in literature, the judgment that comes from you, comes from within. It doesn't happen. God does not judge you the way that you think. You are your own. It, you went through it, and you're the one that looks at it from a completely different view on the other side, and you're like, yeah, that was kind of a dick move. And that's, you are the one that judges yourself. So on that level, getting over the concept of a deity slapping you down, and because you know touched yourself once, that stuff doesn't really take place.
Well, and again, I think that's going to always be a matter up for debate because, again, everybody has, and this is where Stacey and I talk about this, is that everybody has their beliefs, and there's a large system of belief, whether it's Christianity or any other religion. They all have this different take. A lot of them do share a common goal of a God in general. Some, again, believe more of a merciful God. Some believe more of a vengeful God, a judgmental God. But in either case, I feel like with like all the NDE, the near death experiences and stuff like that people talk about, some people talk about meeting Jesus or God,
Yeah.
and feeling that judgment. Or again, I think some people, they talk about their own seeing their life flash before their eyes. There was no deity, there was no other person, but they just saw their life and they had guilt, they had remorse. So there's some different experiences that people felt in that moment when their physical body had actually died and their spirit left their body, more like astral projection, but left their body still attached to that body. Because if they had completely was not coming back, there probably would not be the little silver thread connecting that spirit, like the astral projector, projecting, or astral pilots talk about. They
Yeah.
talk about that thread, right, that connects them. And so that would not exist if they truly were dead. You ain't coming back from that. When you don't have no thread connection back to your body, you're probably toast at
Yeah.
that point. But in any case, yeah. So Stacey, I partially agree. I do think that yes, there is that judgment that people will, when they have that near death experience and they look back at their lives, they're going to have that remorse. They're going to have that grit. They're going to think about all those stupid little times that they were just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed of that, given the gravity of the moment, when things like that shouldn't matter, you know. Um,
Well,
you
and
know,
the NDEs, they're really they hammer it too. If you watch some of these testimonies from the near death experienced people, they all have that same theme, that they were given two different things that in reviews of their life, essentially. One was all of the things that were important, like getting that college degree, getting that promotion at work, getting, that big house, all of these things that they considered to be huge moments in their lives were actually really not that important.
right.
What the other side considered to be far more glorious was that time you helped a little old lady cross the street, or you helped your neighbor, jumpstart his car, because he was like going to lose his job and he couldn't get his car started, and you just came over and saved his job and saved his life essentially by doing that act of kindness. And for you, it was like never thought about it, 2 seconds after it was done.
Right.
Those are the things that really matter, because they carry forward that paying it forward kind of thing that spreads throughout humanity. That's what the dead and the other realm are really excited about is those events, those acts of kindness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. I think that for sure, when you get a chance to review your life when you're passed away and you get to look over your life, that moment, I think, seeing those moments are going to truly is what matters versus the other stuff. Like you said, getting that house, things like that. That's all materialistic stuff. That's in the cosmic world. Oracles and Beyond. Hey, hello.
Hey, hello.
And Bob also said, I myself, I'd like to have a cool spirit name when I cross over. Just think that if you're greeted by welcome back Ichabod, he's like, how cool would it be if you were like known as like the dude? Not allowed. Yeah, I mean, that would suck if they're just like, well, hey, how you doing, Bartholomew? And you're like, what? Like my spirit name is Bartholomew. Like, what the hell, man? Like, not cool. I probably would have some old name or something, maybe. Who knows? But my name goes all the way back to the Bible, and as far as I can tell, I'm only my lives only feel like I only go back to about the medieval times, the early the Renaissance times.
Your name is the Aramaic version of Jesus, Joshua.
Yeshua, yeah. But there was actually, yeah. But I was Joshua the Giant Slayer, Joshua the Giant Killer. And of course, my middle name is James, so another biblical type name. And it's weird because my mother she wasn't like diehard Bible or churchgoer and stuff too. But I guess back then, the 70s or whatever, that was the deal.
Yeah, I got Stacy because of the 60s.
Yeah.
Having flower children as parents, that's what you get.
Oh yeah, I mean there's no doubt. My mom was even a little bit, not much, more my aunt, but my aunt was more the hippie and a weirdo. She still is. She's still kind of weird to this day. She's love you, Aunt Jenny, but she's kind of weird sometimes. But anyways, all right. But she was always trying to be cool to me. Welcome, Oracles. Yeah, I love them so much. Yeah, I think for me, if when I pass over, there is some things I want to do, but of course, if I pass away before my wife, obviously I want to look over them. I want to look over my family. I think a lot of people do. Sometimes they want to look over their family. I also would like a chance to like explore the universe. Like if I'm energy and I can leave and go anywhere in the universe, I think that would be cool. Like, or at least even the solar system, I think it'd be cool. Like, hey, if I just wanted to go check out some of these planets that supposedly, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just like to do a little exploration for a little bit there. But in any case, yeah, Chairman's like, don't want to talk about this.
Well, I mean, if you could go anywhere at any time, in any time, I mean, that would be it. You can go into the future, you can go into the past, you can go to the farthest reaches. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think that's one of the reasons why I always ask guests when they come on the show, like, if you could be, if you could go anywhere in time or in the past and observe as a ghost for one day, just observe, what would it be? It's always been a cool question. I've always said like a day in building of the pyramids, just because, again, I think that it would answer a lot of things. Like right at those kind of crucial moments, like I want to see some stuff. I want to spend a day when they're actively building the pyramids, like right at some crucial construction. You know what I mean? Like that would be the day that would, I think, because that would to me lock in some stuff. Maybe I think it would answer a few things.
Well, the gods or the aliens that built them would probably turn around and tell you to get the hell out. They've got work to do, because they could see you. Everybody else couldn't see you, but they could see you. Blue skinned, wolf headed, god, Anubis.
It would be interesting. I think I don't know. There might be a few other time periods that would be fairly interesting to see.
Uh-huh.
Maybe um, what is it? Why am I blanking out? It's like some of the early times. I'm not talking about evolution type crap. I'm saying like the Sumerians, like Sumerian time frame, like really early, just like even right before the Egyptian time frame, but like Sumerians and stuff. It'd be interesting. It would be interesting to see a few of those times if you could pick. If you could only pick one, then yeah, I would pick the building of the pyramids just because. But I don't know. Be interesting.
Well, I'd like to see if Atlantis was where the hell it's at. Was it really swallowed by the ocean, or did they just get swamped? Um,
Well, see, now that would depend on if you could prove that. Like, if you could, like, say if you went to like a god and you went to God and said, "Hey, God," or let's just say God said, "Hey, name a day where you would like to go for a day and observe as a ghost." So, if God said that, then if you could say, "Well, I'd like to observe a day at Atlantis," you know, if it was real and he was like, okay, Atlantis was real, poof, there you go, then yeah, that'd be pretty cool to like see a day in Atlantis just to even, be like, cool, like, all right, so it was real, whatever. But then, you might be like, hey, God, I'd like to see a day in Atlantis. He'd be like, it never was really
I
cold.
probably get sent to the resort that's in the Caribbean.
My luck, I'd be like stuck downtown Atlanta. And I'd be like, no, I said Atlantis, not Atlanta. Oh my God. I'd be like stuck in some crappy part of Atlanta right off the highway. Ghetto. Oh, that'd be my luck. Stacy's right on the mark. Yeah, Terry Lynn's like, I've always believed in Atlantis. I mean, I think I do. I think Atlantis was real. I mean, I just would love to know where it was. Or there's been some really good theories I've seen out there.
Have you seen the Eye of Africa theory?
I've seen a few different theories on. I've heard of that. I think isn't that one? You'd have to refresh my memory on where that is exactly.
It's right on the west coast of Africa, where the desert at the equatorial level. There's round rock formations that look like foundation, really,
Right.
are the size and shape of the rings of what people think is Atlantis, but it's essentially in the desert.
Right.
Um,
But it's like, isn't that it was like concentric circles in
right.
there, like a few different circles and things like. Yeah, I think I remember that, and I know that there's some that are talking about underwater. There's always
Right.
been a few underwater locations.
There's
Some of them,
Bimini has been the big one
which
because
one?
Bimini, the
Yeah,
Bimini Road in the Caribbean.
yeah.
Uh, you
They're
know,
part of the Bermuda Triangle. They always say because of all the enigma that happens there.
yeah.
Um, all the weird things, and I don't know. I personally just think that there's parts of this earth, like if you look at the way our earth operates with weather and magnetic fields and all this craziness, there's bound to be some hot spots of just nuttiness,
Mhm.
you know. So I think the Bermuda Triangle is just one of those spots on Earth. I don't necessarily think that it always has something to do with aliens or underwater civilizations. I just think that my personal belief on the Bermuda Triangle is just that it's just a bad place for on Earth that just seems to suck things based on maybe weather conditions. Some people, these ships and planes pass through there no problem, but then certain conditions act up and boom, it's killing compasses and causing craziness and eating ships and stuff.
Theoretical
So
physicists are coming to that conclusion simply because their math is showing them, technically speaking, this universe should not exist. It is too unstable, yet it is stable. For some reason, the matter being able to be cohesive the way that it is not really natural. given its own devices, this universe would collapse in on itself. Not just in a crunching kind of way, but matter itself would completely become incohesive. And all you need in an environment like that is just the right conditions to create a crack in what we consider to be the universe in order to, move things around. And it's in the nature. It's in the nature of the universe, not something that necessarily is alien driven or technology driven or anything like that. It exists within the sphere of not only our solar system but from the planet itself. These
Right.
can be created in even in America. There's several spots like the ghost, the Skinwalker Ranch has that. It's for whatever reason on a cycle, it just starts creating vortexes where things keep coming through this portal on the ranch. And it's like every 11 to 13 years. Crazy
Right.
stuff just and nothing happens after that. It's on this weird cycle. It's almost baked into the solar cycle of the 11-year solar thing. But essentially what it comes down to is that what we perceive things to be is not even close to what is real, what is reality, because we don't understand the gravity or the totality of the universe, much less our own backyard. So
I think another, and I don't want to open up too big a can of worms on this, but I really would like to know some more truths about Antarctica. I think that's a great mystery on this Earth. There's just so much that people, again, there's people like I still wonder, like, I mean, even Buzz Aldrin, came back from Antarctica freaking out. And then they tried to write it off as, oh, he got ice sickness or whatever, and it's like, really?
Yeah, he dropped dead like right after that too. It's like that's not weird.
Yeah, I know. So I would like to know a lot more about Antarctica. And what I also find crazy, and this is something I do find interesting, is I don't want to give a lot of credence to, I don't want to get into too much of flat earth theory. But I will say that the reason why I talk about that, because often Antarctica and flat earth theorists, there's a lot that goes on hand in hand. And there was a lot of tests and things that were being done by the military. There's documentation talking about um, them trying to send and test missiles through like a dome-like structure, like our atmosphere, like it, because flat earthers feel like our atmosphere is like a hard dome, and that we're flat Earth. There's a hard dome. That's why no flights go over the poles in that sense, or at least south, Antarctica. That's why, even though it would be a shortcut for the flights, things like that. There's a lot of theories that will always make you think, but the fact that some of these actual military reports do talk about some of this craziness that has happened down there, it is interesting, to say the least. So I would like to know a little more about what went on in Antarctica, or what was things like back there, thousands of years ago. I heard that it was full of life and stuff. So if that's the case, that doesn't make sense, because that takes away the science of how Earth works and the sun and why we have cold down there. So it doesn't make sense to me if there was thriving life down there at some point, but yet it's it's not in direct sun in that sense.
Yeah, well, there's still thriving life down there, and scientists have recently admitted to it, that it's under the ice. It's not, unless you're talking about the penguins, but under the ice, there's a lot of of sea life that is basically churned through the convection currents.
Well,
And
no, but they were talking about. No, I mean, I'm not talking about just void of life. I'm talking about that there was like a jungle, like not so much jungle, but there was trees and there was a different climate down there at one time. Is what they were speculating, and supposedly said that there may have been evidence to prove that. But at the same time, even if you had that, say a million years ago, why? Why is there ice caps over it now? Like the theory of how the sun and the way the moon rotates, the way the sun, the way the Earth rotates around the sun, and swivels on the axis and stuff. We should always have had snow down there, and it should always been there. It should never have really had some kind of jungle type environments or anything. So
yeah, modern science says that there's continental shift over millions of years. The problem is that doesn't actually pan out either. There have been times where this planet has literally slipped off of its axis. The planet spins in the right direction, but our crust is floating on magma. It is not fixed. It is not solidly attached. We are everything from the water, the landmass, everything is floating on liquid rock. And Einstein, even in his last theory, believed in polar shift, being that the Earth would slide on its crust to a new nation. Even the movie 2012 is what brought this out into recent things. But Einstein was seriously considering how this could actually take place, and he believed that if there was too much ice at the poles, it would create an imbalance in the spin, the centrifugal force, and force that crustal displacement. That was Einstein's theory. So global warming is actually saving our butt in that regard, because it's reducing the amount of ice that's putting pressure and losing that spin. But it could be the opposite is what takes place. The ice ages that we've had in history have not been uniform. You have an ice age in America that lasts for 1,000 years, but not on the other side of the globe in the same hemisphere. Why?
I think the reason why all these celebrities and rich people want to keep preaching to stop global warming is because they got beachfront properties. So, I think they're like, hey, if we get a few feet of stuff, then. Well,
I honestly think it's because they're lizard people and they, need that temperature change in order to, stay in their comfort zone. But, that's just me being spiteful.
So let me catch up on some comments. Terry Lynn, I don't want to hear about your stomp text right now about your scoop ski potatoes. All right. So Terry Lynn's up there buying stuff, buying scoops of crystals. All right. So, all right. Bob says, as you know, I'm contemplating what adventures I'm looking forward to, like Steve Jobs saying, wow, just wow. I see. So, yeah, I wonder what he saw in those final moments, Bob. Me too. Is it the mothership over there? I see. I think he saw much more than we are as spiritual beings, rather as the immortal shells. We used to learn lessons for spiritual growth. I wonder how far under the ice, like Middle Earth, spiritual beings having human experience. I can relate to that, Bob. Nope, I'm not. I'm listening intently. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're listening intently, honey. That's why you're up there buying crystals. Scoops of them. Stop. You're supposed to be watching the show tonight. Bob's in the chat. I see you. But yes. So unpacking some of that stuff. I mean, look, I think we all think about the adventures of what's beyond. What adventures we can have. That's why I was saying, like, who knows? Will I get to do some exploration? I mean, I want to be with my wife. I want us to spiritually be together. After in the afterlife. And of course, my family, maybe not all of them. I know that's me. I'm just kidding. But I hope there is some of that different evolution, a different level, for sure. But yeah, Antarctica. I do feel like, oh, she was talking about Middle Earth. I do think there's room for theory on Middle Earth. I don't know necessarily how much I really believe in it. I do think there could be a I think there could be some creatures still that are like kind of underground cities, or maybe not even technologically advanced, but just underground environments that these animals have built a whole ecosystem on. Maybe some super caves that are very far down under the earth that some of these you know creatures have made it to or evolved to. There's always that possibility, you know.
In one of my remote viewing courses, it deals with the Enigma targets. I just create a bunch of Enigma targets for my students, and they have to actually tell me what their results are. I don't tell them uh, what it is that they're getting, and one of them is Antarctica. Um, and some of the stuff they come up with is wild. It's what you're saying. They're caves, but not caves. Giant halls like you would see in Lord of the Rings, where they just these big stone caverns with pillars that just seem to go on forever, but also have a weird glow to them as being self illuminated, but without the sun or electricity or anything like that. It's something that is truly alien to us, but it's also us. So,
Right.
what all that means, I don't know. But these are the results that are coming back from students who have no idea what their target is. It's a blind target, and you know, it's I'm pointing them to Antarctica. So,
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And even if I don't know if Antarctica is the path to like a Middle Earth or not. I mean, who knows where that path could actually be? Um, it could be. It could be. I mean, I'm not going to discount it for sure. I'd be stupid to do that. But yeah, Terrelyn said, "I love listening to Stacy and you, and love Boo." And then of course she said, "Bob." Oh my God, Bob. She's like, "Sorry, I love you. Hope I made you smile though." Smiling is easy with this family. No kidding. I see you. I see a huge spaceship with lots of cavern-like wings, Stacy.
mm, yeah, it's nobody's going to know until they go down there, and from the sounds of things, every people who keep going down there don't live very long after the fact. So, uh, it's the fact you have to get special permission to go to this place from the United States government should tell you. Uh, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
before people would just go, they'd have an expedition and they'd just go. Now you can't do that. Why?
Yeah, I know. I mean, why? I mean, you would think that, and not only that, but like they had all the countries, form a pact. Like why? Like what is different about Antarctica?
Yeah.
And there's really no true good reason. Um, but I will say that I think that if there is possibly like a Middle Earth, like fairly deep in the Earth, honestly, I don't know if we would survive. I don't know if surface dwellers like us would survive in those conditions if the pressures and things are different. It just depends. If it has its own sort of light sources, I don't know how the organisms evolved, how their skins are compared to ours. If there's humanoid like people there, I don't think you're going to find like troll. I mean, I don't think you're gonna find like elves and things like that. I think you would find obviously more crazy and scary looking creatures, maybe because of the way they evolved for living down there and having to survive and but I think a whole ecosystem could be contained in there and not so much thrive from sunlight, but from whatever energy is amassing from whatever crystals or glow in the dark phosphorus or those was it the fluorescence and stuff. Whatever it is, they may live off there. So I don't know if we could go down there and visit, depending on the atmosphere. If we found a way down there and it wasn't like going under the sea or something, if we were able to go down there and visit, or maybe they wouldn't be able to come up and visit us. We may just have to have two separate worlds. But in any case, what else you guys want to talk about tonight? I really enjoyed the conversation tonight on some of the borderline theories of the afterlife, but a little bit of Antarctica stuff. Again, I didn't want to open too big a can of worms, but since we were talking about interesting periods of time frames, like to me, that's definitely something I would like to. I'd like to know the truth on that. Yeah. I see a huge space with scientists, the Pope, world leaders meet in Antarctica. Why?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm really tired of these, Illuminati schmucks running everything, and we're left to deal with whatever aftermath they, scheme they cook up. If they're down there and they're discovering things that shed light on, free energy or the true nature of human history, because there's an entire civilization or even just a prehistoric civilization being dinosaurs, whatever, that are in an hourglass themselves. They're self-contained and the last remnants of a 200 million year existence.
Right.
To know that without us being able to move forward as a society, you get what we have now, where everybody's turning in on themselves and everything is about vanity and narcissism and looking down at their phones all the time, wondering, what Brad Pitt's junk is doing these days, or Will Smith is pimp slapping somebody else. Humanity needs to keep evolving and keep growing, and these people are keeping stuff from us that really will help us.
Well, yeah.
Water.
Well, yeah, and I mean, because I know, like, I heard, and I don't know if you ever heard this, but I'm sure you have. But I've always heard the classic kind of tale about how there's supposedly a patent from back in the carburetor days, where there was a carburetor. Because for those of you that remember, engines didn't always just use fuel injection. They had a carburetor at times too, with a choke that controlled a little bit of the air and fuel. Anyways, but supposedly there was even a patent that somebody had done. A local inventor had created a carburetor that literally could assist in providing an engine with 400 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
But the government was like, whoa, 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 can't have that. Let's lock that up and throw it away or keep it well hidden in the patent office.
Yeah.
So,
water engine too.
Huh?
The guy, he created there was another carburetor that was literally a water engine, no gasoline. He poured straight distilled water into his engine and it ran. He drove it for miles. They wanted him to sell them the patent for it. He refused. He ended up going missing, and so did his car. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of technology has been around since Tesla, and that's always the kind of stuff that seems to disappear and end up in the vaults of the petroleum industry.
Yeah. So Bob says you're finally getting the Josh All Night show starring Josh and Stacy. I will status to watch. Me too. Laugh out loud. Well, yeah. I mean, we always try to do what we can. Give you a good show, or at least a show. Doesn't have to be good. We just talk and have fun and do all kinds of things. Um, this is good. This is glad to have the what I call like the core crew here, like Bob and ICU and Terry Lynn and me and Stacy. You know, we kind of make up that core crew that always tends to show up all the time for the shows. So that's awesome. And I definitely like to talk about a lot of theories. It's too bad there isn't a lot of people that they'd rather just have that quick, no brain entertainment. I think we offer a lot of theory and some really stuff that again people don't always like to get into, but they do like to talk about. So I think we've always been able to offer that, and whether Bob's on the show offering a lot of his in-depth stuff, or no matter who we've had on the show, I think we always have had good guests and good people to entertain and to provide their theories. So that's what I said, Bob. It's like, I wish you were able to get back on the show someday. That'd be great. Get you on the show maybe when you release your book, and maybe you can promote it. And get on my show. Of course, you have to get some internet at your house, so you're not using that cell phone internet that'll make you talk like Satan. Where's Scully and Mulder when you need them, right? Yeah, I mean, I I think okay. So we talked about a little bit about Antarctica, right? I think that was an interesting moment or a very fascinating place on Earth. Um, what? Let me ask you, Stacy. What other place on Earth that you would like to kind of learn something about?
Well, you mean in spirit form after the fact,
Like
or
maybe something you could learn the truth on. I mean, I'm sure probably all would be revealed. I would assume,
yeah?
but assuming that maybe not, maybe we're not granted all the knowledge, and maybe just some, right? Maybe it's like, hey, you kind of go back and learn this. But what would you like to learn a little more on?
Well, Antarctica for one. Um, I'd like to know what's actually happening at Skinwalker Ranch. Um, Simply because the anomalies that happen there are so erratic and so I can't even say erratic. They're random. You got spirit activity. You got the cryptoid stuff with werewolves and skinwalkers, which are what werewolves are too. Then you got aliens, and you got time travel. Um, things that are so incredibly weird that I just want to know what's going on with that place. One guy was killed when a 1930s truck fell out of the sky and landed on him. He was out in the middle of the desert at Skinwalker. I mean, how does that happen? You just have a time traveling truck, squish you. Uh, then you got wolves that are apparently bulletproof, giant wolves at that. They're not even like, dog size. They're like bear size. And, UFOs that you get more than you can shake a stick at. Just by being there, they show up. You know,
Right.
you don't have to do anything special. You just point your camera at the sky and, oh, holy hell, there's more UFOs.
Right. It's pretty much. You're not wrong about that one.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to. I've actually even thought about buying across the street. No joke, across the street from Skinwalker Ranch. They have a long driveway that they don't let anybody down, but it's on this little bitty road, and across the street from the entrance was a piece of property somebody was selling for almost nothing, and it was for an RV kind of thing where you could park your RV next to it and just sit there. And I thought about buying it because I'm like, if I can't get on Skinwalker Ranch, I'm going to be the neighbor to the beast, you know?
Timeshare. They're like, hey, I have a timeshare. I just bought this property, and if you want to rent it, you're like, that's
Yeah.
that's your B&B.
Yeah. I mean, think about all the, you know, you have all of these Wavington, you know, people come in and ghost hunt. If you got a trailer that's sitting right across from Skinwalker Ranch, hey, investigators galore. Come on, you know, rent that out.
Yeah.
Airbnb it.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you like made like a couple little mini cabins, you know, like little, you know, people love those little tiny homes. Made a couple little, just, you know, almost like a half a camper size. You make two little cabins and
Yeah.
enough for them to pull on if it's just a small lot, you know, enough for them to pull their vehicle on. And they got two separate cabins if they want to have some friends or two couples or something. But you could always be renting out a couple little mini cabins, you know, and I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. I was thinking hard on that for a while because it was available, and I'm like, you know, why not? All I need to do is, yeah, like get the mini homes and, you know, rent it out to whatever investigative team wants to do it.
Yeah, Bowser will do it if the cancer doesn't get me first. Well, yeah, I mean, for sure, Bob. Praying for you daily. Obviously, we're always praying for you to get better, Bob. So I'm trying to stay positive, trying to think good thoughts, trying to keep that good thought chain going. So yes, I think learning some of the great mysteries would be cool, just in general. Learning some of these things that you know we always wondered about. I'd like to see, I'd like to see like Noah's Ark. I think that could be kind of cool to witness that. Um, you know, Again, I'm not trying to doubt whether there was an actual Noah's Ark or not, but assuming, let's say, that it was real, I think mysteries like that, I think, would be really cool just to be able to pop in for a day and to see them in action. Stuff like that. Um, I would probably have loved to see, and I know this may sound odd, but I think it'd be kind of cool to almost witness a real day when some of our early settlers in America kind of had that first peace talks with Indians, so to speak. That Thanksgiving kind of exchange of peace. I think it would be really cool to experience them trying to talk to these Native Americans, and just to see that process. Call me weird, but I just think it'd be really cool to see that kind of oddity, but at the same time, the nice gestures. I would love to see that, and of course, seeing the authentic clothing on the Native Americans and the Pilgrims and stuff. Some of our early settlers would be really badass.
Well,
But
Eric the Red was the Viking, was the first to actually land in this country from Europe, and then that was 500 years before Columbus. My guess is when the Pilgrims landed and they started, interacting, the Native Americans had already dealt with the Vikings, and they're like, "Oh man, these assholes again." You got more white people. We got rid of the last white people. It took forever, and now we got more of them.
well, but they're still always going to credit Christopher Columbus for discovering it in the way that opened it up to modernization, or colonization. But I do agree. I think, yes, Vikings. There's always been enough evidence that Vikings did come down. They always tried to disclaim it, for the longest time. But I think we've got a point now that I don't think they can. I don't think they can truly disclaim it. They kind of almost have to be like, yeah, well, the Vikings did come down here, and mingle around in parts of America in the New England areas and stuff like that. I don't know. But in any case, I just think it'd be cool to see some of that exchange going on.
Yeah.
I just think even bouncing in and out of different periods of life in general. Like imagine going to the Renaissance period, or when you had maybe some knights, some. It's probably not the way people see it in the movies, because there's a lot of different differences that occurred in those times. Like when you had the knights and things like that, it wasn't always them going around in this, knight armor, and there's a lot of different other types of armor that was actually more common. Anyways, it would just be kind of cool to bounce around during some of these time frames and actually experience a day in those lives, right? Just a day to hang out, maybe watch like a Western town and how it operated, on a daily, just a one day of just a town operation, to see people actually going into the saloon maybe, or going to hang out, having fun, doing different things, because they had fun in some of these towns. So even some of these guys would, they had a lot of fun. It wasn't just like the movies where it was just the guys, a couple guys hanging out in a saloon and all that. But it just would be interesting to see the actual daily lives of some of these different periods throughout history.
Yeah.
I'm kind of that kind of weird person like that in that sense. Like, it doesn't have to be anything cool. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I want to see like a day in a war or something. No, it doesn't have to be scary or like horrifying or anything. It just, to me, I just would find it fascinating just because I like history in that sense. I think it'd be so cool to be able to go back and witness just a day in some of these different cultures and civilizations, just to see their day-to-day life.
Robert.
Yeah, Bob says, guys, I have had a good run, and there's still I need to do. So this is just a speed bump in my life. Just remember to never sweat the small stuff, basically, and everything is funny. Oh, I know, Bob. You're always your sense of humor is definitely right up my alley, because we both share that same kind of dark, twisted sense of humor at times. So, but yeah, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's so hard to do though. It's so hard to always, like, I can remember laying in the hospital, like after having emergency surgery and stuff. Like there's a time when you evaluate your life and you're like, I mean, things don't seem as trivial, things are fine. But then you get caught back up into life. You get back, you're working, and life is going by very quickly. So I get it though, and believe me, Bob, I've definitely tried to appreciate all the things in life. The best I can, anyways. I try to think, will this matter in 5 years or when I'm gone? Right. Well, and that's the thing. But at some point, it's like, yes, I'd love to just quit my jobs and do fun stuff the rest of my life with my family. But then we would probably get evicted or lose our house, or like basically lose our house and lose our vehicles. And, it's tough. It's like we're caught in this. It's like a slave system in a way. It's like you have to work to make money to pay bills. And some people that sell their souls, they're able to do fun things and make money. I'm just kidding about selling their soul, but some people do that. But in any case, we're working our way toward theirs. Lose our house and have to move in with Stacy. Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt we'd do that. We wouldn't impose on his busy household. Plus, we'd be out doing fun things, right? That's the whole point of if I was to quit and do fun things, right, in life. Just go out.
Downsize, get an RV, and go anywhere, do anything, and not have to worry about anything.
See, there you go, honey. We could just do what's the guy that we just the guy that made all the news that he's did you see where the guy that he's a YouTuber? Remember, honey, the YouTuber guy? God, I'm blanking on his name. She will know. But that guy, the YouTuber went into Bob Saget's hotel room. The one that died when Bob Saget died. This YouTuber was doing a video, and we watched him before. We actually watched this YouTuber. I think we're subscribed to him. But he goes to a lot of cemeteries, and his thing is he actually will go to cemeteries, but he usually will find interesting stories at those cemeteries. So he's not just going there and doing he goes there and he's got a really good voice, the kind of voice that probably could do voiceover work. But he goes and Lamont at Large. So if you ever get a chance to check out that channel, Lamont at Large, I recommend it because he comes up with a lot of these cool, fascinating stories with some of these cemeteries and graves. So he digs up some of those. So he's got a cool thing going. Well, anyways, he decided to, because he was down that way in Florida, he decided to go to the Ritz-Carlton where Bob Saget passed away. And in the video, he was just like, well, hey guys, and he had at that time, he had his little cell phone, he had his little cell phone mount, whatever. But he walks in the hotel, nobody stops him. And he goes into the elevator. And then nobody stopped him. And there's no key card. He goes all the way up to, the 9th floor, I think. Goes up to the 9th floor. Door opens. Some guy was coming on the elevator, didn't say anything to him. He's got his camera. You can even see in the reflection, you've seen his little, it's like a little mini gimbal with his phone. And then you see him. He walks all the way down to the end of the hallway. It's a pretty long walk, all the way down to 902. I guess the room that Bob Saget had passed away in. And he's sitting there, and they got those bars that you latch, that flip over. Well, the latch was flipped over, and the door was just up against that latch. So, he contemplates for a second, but he kind of opens the door a little bit, just says, housekeeping. And next thing you know, he's in the room and he goes in there. He goes all the way to the bed, shows the bed. Of course, the housekeeping hadn't made up the room yet. But this was not the day after Bob Saget. This was, somebody obviously had stayed there because, again, people don't realize, but when you pass away in a hotel, once it's clean, they just rent it out again. There's no, they don't shut it down. They don't, they don't give it some time. It's so anyways, but he went in there and filmed, and then of course ended up leaving, and nobody said nothing to him. Next thing you know, he was getting interviews on the radio, and he's starting to blow up on it. But yeah, it's you only live once, so he went for it. It's and like I told Terry Lynn, it's I don't know. I don't know if I was in that moment, and had I made it all the way to his room, and his room door was ajar like that, and being in the middle of the day when housekeeping was sort of busy and cleaning other rooms and stuff, I probably would have went for it too. I would have probably either tapped on the door lightly and just been like, hello, is anybody in here? Or, I don't know if I would have said housekeeping like he did, but that was still funny.
Housekeeping.
But yeah, and then Terry Lid's she was stomping and saying that there's something really shady about his death. You don't get skull fractures from a padded headboard or a carpeted floor. They changed it 3 or 4 times. So yeah, there's a lot of mystery regarding Bob Saget's death, and that's weird because it almost felt like it came out of nowhere. It's like when Bob Saget passed away and Terry Lynn told me, it was kind of like, oh, that sucks, and he was pretty young. And then all of a sudden it just wasn't going away, because then like all of a sudden Terry Lynn had mentioned something, like another day or two later or whatever, but all of a sudden it's like, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. There's some different talk about this and that. And then again, this whole like Lamont at large thing where it's like, well, if he's able to go all the way up there without security, there was no forced entry, but at the same time, Bob Saget was found in his bed. He had a towel around his head, like like when you dry your hair or something.
Mm-hmm.
But he had multiple fractures in the front and back of his head. But they were saying that he fell with the equivalent force of falling a 20-foot ladder. Like, so how do you do that in your hotel room, but fracture different parts of your head, but then still crawl into bed with a towel around your head and die? I don't know. Just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So, and this was shortly after he had a show, So some people, Terry Lynn says that she thinks that his wife had a hand in it. ICU says he got whacked. It's again, I don't want to accuse people necessarily, right? But it is interesting to see how quick the wife was already over his death and going to concerts and going out in public. So that is peculiar, again, and I'm not saying that people can't, people grieve differently. Maybe she's the type that can't be alone. Maybe she needs to be out with her friends, or maybe to be out in public, may not want to think about it. I don't know. Again, everybody's different. I personally don't think I'd just be going to concerts and stuff. And, I don't know. I'm not sure. Terry Lynn's like, I didn't accuse, I simply suggest. Yes. But honey, I agree. There could be something there, for sure. I think it warrants more looking into, because there was a lot of suspicious stuff after that. A lot of things trying to get swept under the rug quickly. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So, do I think that it'll ever be solved? Unfortunately, I'm not sure. I don't think it will. I hate to say it. It'd be nice, and maybe there'll be a break in the case. Maybe somebody at some point will either step forward, or who knows. But I think the whole point was, I was talking about Lamont at large just walking into some of these locations, or just walking into that location. So.
He lives out of an RV, or he's just...
Yes, that was also the point of things too. Is he actually lives in his van? Like, he drives around and he does these YouTube videos, and he makes money. I mean, he's got quite a bit of following, and he's making money. So he's obviously able to drive his van wherever, and live out of it, and he's doing okay. He's got a pretty decent life going on, but. But maybe that's what we should do, honey. Just sell everything and invest into a nice RV, and then we can just drive and do what we want.
Go wherever you want. Don't want
go. We'll do filming, whatever, and we'll sell everything. We'll have just enough money maybe to where I can quit my jobs and focus on filming for Die Hard for a few months. I don't know if that was a no stomp or maybe a yes stomp. Maybe she's like, yes. She's like, yes, that's a good idea, Josh. I don't want my home that we've been making. Now, who needs a stable home, right? See, we have a son. Yeah, but, I'm sure he would love an adventure, right? That would be even more exciting for Christian, to be always on an adventure. And we can still live here in the area. We're mobile. I'm just kidding though.
I've actually looked into it. There's the Earth Rummer RVs. Those are massive trucks that like pickup trucks that are 4x4s that they've essentially built an RV around, and it's not like the the Super Cs that have the flat end. It looks like a a Greyhound bus. It actually
Right.
looks like a real truck, and it's all outfitted for off-grid living, specifically, going into the woods and going camping and going. You could live. You don't have to have the hookups in order to live in the thing, and I think that would be, awesome for a while. Just to cruise around and uh, you know see the sights of, do investigations or whatever, and just go out and sleep in your truck wherever you happen to park.
Well, I do think that would be cool, but I think that would be cool for moments. I think that for me, like I definitely would like doing that. I think it would be cool to go and take the RV somewhere and do something cool, and take it and spend, and like I said, have some adventures. But for me, and probably even Terry Lynn, I'm assuming, because I know she was like, she's kind of pointing more toward home. But it is nice to have a place that you can still kind of call home, and it's that stable piece that you can just kind of say, "Hey, this is my piece of the property, or this is my piece of earth that I can. It's my base, my home base. I can come back here. It's kind of your safe space. With mobile, it's like you never have that permanent grounding. Um,
Well, I
so
know what it's like to be homeless too. After Katrina, we were 9 months refugees. Didn't have a place that we could call home or even had anything to go with it. What we had on the shirts on our back was pretty much it, and you know that kind of thing really does suck. And if we'd have had an RV, it would have been a whole lot better. But uh, feeling like you don't have a home base or anything that you're tethered to, yeah, that does suck.
yeah, but it's ironically, like what's crazy is like think about like we know each other now, but back then when we lived down in Florida and Katrina hit, what ironically like we if we had known you then, we'd have put you up in our house. Like we had room. Like we would have been able to like, look, you can have your own room. We got, and even when we moved to um Crestview, we had a pretty nice. It was even haunted, but hell, you could even have had probably the master bedroom because well, hell, we didn't. But hell, we would have had plenty of room in that place. It was 2-car garage, 2,400 square foot home, um, uh, and since it was kind of haunted, we all kind of slept in the living room. But that was before we really just wanted to mess with whatever it was there. Um, But yeah, if my son was grown and on his own, then maybe. Well, I think if anything, like I still don't want to live like with RV. I think for us, honey, I think an RV would be economical for us to do like his tennis stuff. So like when we got to go for out of town tournaments, it'd be nice to get the RV and load up, and where we have some nice place to sleep and a cozy place that we don't have to worry about bed bugs or hotels that don't wash their sheets, that whatever, and that overcharge you. I
And
mean,
like COVID restrictions. I mean, from what we just went through, I mean, that kind of a hell going into a hotel where they've got their own level of restrictions based on state by state or jurisdiction by jurisdiction. They all got their own thing going on, and you have to bend the knee wearing the face diaper in this place but not this place. And you know if you have your own RV, you don't have to worry about any of that, and you can have literally a ghost busting crew anytime you want. You can just load everybody up and go.
right. Well, yeah, It's like, well, maybe not with the gas prices now. But I mean, yeah, that probably would suck for an RV, I guess, but for me, like my goal, I always thought would be cool is if we did do well enough to get an RV, then my goal was that this would be our home base, but like So let's say our son let's say he had a tournament in like Rome, Georgia, which is pretty popular for kids around here to travel to, or even Atlanta or something, right? But let's say we were going to go to Rome, Georgia for a tournament, and he had to play on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If he played doubles, he'd play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Let's just say it was a 2-day tournament, Saturday, Sunday. But for me, it's like I'd want to leave here on a Tuesday, get there, sleep, and then on Wednesday go out, scout the place. Like I'd love to line up like paranormal investigation type stuff. Thursday, maybe even do a live show from a location or from Rome, Georgia, and be like, hey guys, coming to you from Rome, Georgia. I'm here filming. Even if it wasn't on site, but doing lives from there, but filming an episode either that Wednesday night or that Thursday night, and then be there for his tennis, and then go back home and do editing and all that, or edit stuff on the road, have a little mini studio with, some internet. That's what I always pictured. I always thought would be really cool. That way we still would be providing entertainment and feeding and still doing stuff for the show. But at the same time, being able to tour and go and so wherever his tennis goes, find ghostly adventures around that, to kind of consolidate 2 in 1. I always thought it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. Just, getting past all of the stuff that's going on right now, when they switch everything over to crypto, which is what they're all doing, maybe then everything will be more copacetic to real people rather than just the wealthy. So,
well, maybe Tesla will come out with an RV.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The Tesla RV, and you just pull up to like the electric bumps.
Well,
yeah, pay for those. Do they have those charging stations? Do they actually cost money? I never even noticed.
Yes, they do.
Do
but
they?
It's the equivalent of around 8 cents a gallon.
Right.
They'll get a full charge and they'll get charged $4.75. And it's literally the equivalent of 8 cents a gallon when you spread it out. They'll go 500 miles on $4. So.
Yeah, probably $2 million Tesla RV. Bob says, it's my bedtime, guys. Love the show, but meds rule more than I'd like. See you all next week. Absolutely, Bob. We'll see you next week for sure. Definitely. Love you, Bob. I'm glad you made it to the Tonight Show. It's so good to finally see you in here. So go get some rest. Yeah. Go get some rest, buddy.
Get some rest and relax.
So, yeah, I see you, though. Yeah, the $2 million Tesla. Yeah, I mean, would it be worth it? Would you get your money back eventually? I think so. I mean, hell, because Tesla's been making some good vehicles, like not just the old crappy electric vehicles, but some good electric vehicles.
If they get the 1,000,000-mile battery that they're bragging about, the 4680 is what it'll hold enough charge where you can get 1,000,000 miles out of it. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you can't get that out of any car in existence. 1,000,000 miles off of an engine or anything.
Right. And, eventually, I hope it's not going to turn out to be like most of our other, because back in the day, I use that term, folks, you could go and get a floor model TV, like an old Zenith or something, even some old Magnavox or whatever, and they would last for years.
Uh-huh.
But as we keep going further and further, all these electronics are really only designed to last about 3 years. And for some of you, you might say, but Josh, I've had my flat screen for 6 or 7 years or more. Yes, but, we're talking smart capabilities too. A lot of those TVs don't have that. If you have an older smart TV, it doesn't usually have an in-depth library. It doesn't have, there's a lot of features and things like that. They're going away from the cable industry is phasing out traditional cable as we know it over the next 5 to 10 years. It's all going to be over the internet. So all your TVs will have to have internet capabilities and probably be up to date. So I just hope the point is that they're making it to where you really have to keep recycling your electronics about every 3 years, whether it's routers, cell phones, TVs, any of those things, even computers, laptops. Of course, a lot of that's getting consolidated down. But the point is, I just hope Tesla doesn't fall into that where we start getting 300,000-mile batteries, and the excuse is, well, this is the economical versions. So we get the 300,000-mile batteries, and then, yes, it might bring the cost down, but then maybe they start breaking down more, or, people have to buy vehicles more often. I just don't want him to fall into that traditional consumer routine of forcing us to keep, feeling like after only 2 or 3 years, we got to buy new, even vehicles, nowadays. And I've seen a few, like I saw a guy that had a Dodge Ram truck, an old Dodge Ram truck, man. I'm talking, it had to be at least early 80s, maybe late 70s. And the thing was in mint condition, man. And whoever this guy was, took super care of this thing. But, think about how old that vehicle is now. You know what I mean? That's, it was kind of unheard of back, as at one point you never would have thought vehicles would last 40 or 50 years.
Tesla knows something. I mean, not Tesla, but Elon Musk. He knows something because he's designing his future stuff to be not only compatible, but useful in an apocalypse. The Cybertruck is bulletproof. It's EMP hardened. It's got the 1,000,000-mile battery to it. It's got a biofilter that is better than the N95 masks that they made us wear during the viruses. So it actually will filter out viruses in the air filter that sucks in the air. It's like, why do you need that in a car? Why is all of this stuff that he's a bulletproof truck? Why do we need a bulletproof truck? An EMP hardened bulletproof truck. These things aren't just something that, guys like, yeah, I think I'll just do that. It has to be planned out. And why are you planning it out? He knows something. And the idea of his truck being able to act independently without the grid, he's going to have solar panels where you can put it on it. And it literally is an apocalyptic vehicle. And he's putting it out there as just like, regular pickup truck. He's not even advertising the best features of the thing. He's just putting it in there. So
yeah, I've got a lot of respect for him. He's one of those guys when you heard the names that when you heard Elon Musk, you're like, what the heck? And then there were some people that tried to run and make him sound like he was, not cool. But the more I learned on him, and
that's only because they hate African Americans. Elon Musk was originally from South Africa,
right? but no, I know why. I know why he's on the outside. But anytime you get people that speak their mind, But
yeah.
But in any case, ICU says, curved Samsung TV only lasted 2 years of that. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, things aren't always made of actual quality. But even if they are, like I said, a lot of times the software itself becomes out of date. Look what they do to cell phones. Every time a new iPhone comes out, they neuter the previous version.
He's coming out with his own cell phone too. It's the Tesla phone. It's a satellite phone. Then it's going to be better than Apple. No joke. People are trying to buy it up now for $2,000, and he hasn't even put it out.
Right. Well, but again, like you said, when you are starting to establish a reputation of that he's putting quality into his products, then obviously people are going to line up because all we normally have is the same old thing. So, will I get one? Who knows? But if I can get to a point where if you guys watching can help me get there by sharing and liking and subscribing to the point where I'm making enough money to get a Tesla phone or even a Tesla vehicle, I would love you guys forever. So I'm just kidding. I already love you guys. So I think I want to wrap up the show. It's been 2 hours and 10 minutes. Bob's went to bed. I think everybody's getting tired. I had a couple long nights because I actually had to go into my work, made me do this class for 2 days in a row. And I would have rather been out in the field working with customers, to be honest with you. I didn't want to be in an office sitting there doing IT tests. I mean,
those suck.
Yeah, because the problem with the IT materials that we were studying, it's all about it's kind of like a condensed version. If anybody's ever studied for an A+ certification for IT, it's not easy. It's like a 1,400 page study book. There's 2 tests, 901 and 902. It's not easy.
And half the stuff that's in the test isn't even.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically having to learn almost every bit of a computer, like literally the CPU, how many pins are in certain chips, Intel chips, Pentium, all these different. There's so many things, different bus speeds or bridges or different mapping, for your motherboard, different PCI slots. I mean, all of these things, from that to software stuff, Windows, Apple stuff, all these different things, all in that test. Well, at work, they made us do a condensed, like, Cliff Note version of that in 2 days. And it was like broken into 8 modules. It took me literally like almost 8 full hours to do 5 of those 8 modules. I did an extra module. I didn't want to split it in half because they wanted trying to make me come in early this morning. They're like, well, if you only get 4 modules done, you're going to have to come in at like 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't do that. Sorry. I work in my other job and I actually ended up having the long route last night at my hospital thing. I didn't get to bed till like 5 in the morning. Yeah. So I'm not getting up an hour later and to come into work. Like, sorry, ain't gonna happen.
Take it fast.
So right, and so I actually spent all day the first day, like full 8 hours, didn't even take a lunch, and busted out 5 of the chapters. And then today, I ended up getting the first three chapters done really like fairly quick, and took the final exam. But the final 3 chapters I actually kind of went through because it was actually networking and stuff that I deal with a lot at work. So I kind of had a hand up on that. But in any case, the point of all it was, it's so stupid. There's so much material that they teach you outdated systems to teach you the evolution, but then they test you on the outdated stuff. I hate that. I hate that with a passion. It's like, look, I don't care if you care about me paying attention to old stuff. I don't really want to pay attention to outdated systems. I mean, they spent so much time talking about DSL technology and everything else, and it's like when they're talking about these bit rates, and it's like, what? Why are you talking? Nobody cares about DSL technology anymore. Nobody cares. Is it out there? Yes. And there's still places that have to have DSL internet, but it's stupid. Why are you spending so much time on outdated technology? So anyways, point is, it was boring. And then they ask you some of the stupidest comprehension questions on the exams. So it's like, even if you go through it, you still are like, I'm flipping through my notes, AKA I took screenshots of every slide. So I'm going through my notes and I'm like, it's a comprehension question. They want to make sure you understand the material. So they give you some stupid scenario that it's not in black and white. You have to like use your brain. Like, screw that. Okay. I study you give me the study materials, you test me on this. I want black and white here. I don't want to use my head because often I'm going to get, I'm barely going to pass. And I like to pass with 100% instead of passing with 70. Like, so we had to pass with 70%. So I had some hundreds, but a few 70s. A couple times I'm like, yes. I'm like, I'll take a 70. I don't care. Like, some of the tests were just like really hard. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Seriously, I'm good. It's not going to affect.
My favorite trick questions are, what is the valuation of this binary code? 101001. It's like you have to figure out what the mathematical equation is.
What the binary, is.
Right. And, they throw another one out there is like, what does laser stand for? Because laser is an acronym. It's not,
Right.
The word laser isn't really a word. It's an acronym of several words.
Right.
And you have to, tell them what it is. And it's like light amplification by stimulated emissions of radiation.
Right.
That's what laser stands for. And they always throw that shit out there just because they think that people just memorize the books and then do the test. So they throw stuff that's not even in the books. So
I know, like, and then they'll tell you, like, here's a switched network versus a point-to-point network.
mm-hmm.
And then they'll say something like, if Joe has 4 employees with work nodes and this and that and hubs and stuff, should he go with a switch network or should he go with a point-to-point network and all this stuff? And it's like, I don't want to think about this shit. I really don't. But I mean, that's probably an easier one. But I'm just saying, they just come up with the stupidest stuff.
It comes down to what is he willing to pay for? It's not what is correct, is what is he willing to pay for? That's the actual answer.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like, well, he should do this, but what's the reality? I can tell you what the reality is. The reality ain't going to do that, because business owners are cheap by nature. And
they want it all for free.
I cannot tell you how many businesses I go to that are pretty good sized, like, company businesses, and they are running residential routers in their businesses. Instead of actually doing networking that requires access points and some high dollar routing systems. Nope, they just got residential routers. Like, that's it. Just a good old Netgear, or sometimes D-Link or some piece of crap that's out there. Like, nope, that's it. They just got that in a maintenance closet. There's your wireless internet.
They have 3 choices: fast, easy, or cheap, and they get to choose 2. You can have it fast and you can have it easy, but it's not going to be cheap. You can have it cheap and you can have it fast, but it's not going to be easy. Those are your options. You can choose which of the 3 you want. Yeah.
And so I guess I'm just venting a little bit because I did that. I did pass my exam with the final exam. It's a proctored exam. So we're supposed to be supervised and we're not supposed to use any materials. However, I will say, let's just put it this way. I use my phone. But there was a lot that I was surprised. There was quite a few questions that popped back up from the exams, from the lesson exams, that I actually remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I can remember this one, because they trick you so much. Like, if anybody knows anything about networking, there's like 7 layers, the 7 OSI layers. And everything from like your physical layer all the way up to your application layer, like basically what you see on computer screens, and the physical layers like cabling. Well, anyways, they really like try to trick you up because they'll just be like, what type of data does the data link layer use? And it's like packets, bits, frames, whatever. And you're like, so you're trying to remember because you got different layers sometimes use different things.
Mhm.
So you're like, God, what the hell? What layer was that? And depending on the information, some of the information goes down layers and then up layers, but then as it goes down layers, it's adding shit to data, and then as it goes up layers, it's getting deconstructed again. So you got to remember all this crap along the path, and it's not stuff that I deal with every day at work, but it is part of networking. But then in the like I said, then in the quiz when they're asking all these different things like what is the net, what type of data does the network layer like to do, and then it's like packets, frames, cells, all these things. You're like, God dang it! Like, which one was it? And then it was like, then what does the data lake do? And it's like, but by the way, the network layer deals with packets, and the data link layer deals with frames. Physical layer deals more in bits. So, anyway, it's just a little FYI information for you all.
Back in the day, they had daisy chain networking, BNC cabling that they would network computers together with. They actually used tokens, which is where we get the technology with Bitcoin and the rest of them today. It's actually a really old technology that they have refurbished into crypto.
Well, yeah, the tokens that are handed between computers, the discussion that happens with using the token system and stuff, that was actually in part of that crap. Which again, I had a lot of this stuff I'd actually studied like 3 or 4 years ago when I was studying for my A+ certification. And I even had flashcards that I did for Terry Lynn to help me out with doing some flashcard stuff because there's so much crap to learn, so many things and things that you wouldn't think would be stupid because you would think you would just have to learn like current technology, but you have to learn like all the generations of wireless internet. Your B, your A, your G, your N, your AC, and now even AX. So, but not only do you have to learn, like that's the easy part is just naming the generations, but you have to learn all the differences and like what each generation used to bring to the table or what frequencies they use, how much bandwidth they can provide, all these things. And like, why? Why do you need to know this shit? Nobody cares.
Well,
I was venting. I was venting on a bunch of technical, boring stuff on my Paranormal channel. So sorry, guys. Oh, sorry, guys. But in any case, just wanted to wrap things up after I just took a 15-minute vent, detour. But I passed with an 86%. So
awesome.
Yeah, as soon as I hit submit, it was like because what's cool is like during all of the exam quizzes, like the checkpoints, it'd be like, okay, time for a checkpoint quiz, and it would be multiple choice, and you had 2 tries. So, and what was cool is you had instant answer or instant knowledge. Like if you clicked on the wrong thing, it would say incorrect. Clicked on the right thing, it would say correct, and then you hit next. You go to the next question. So you had 2 attempts. So a lot of times you could eliminate 2 of the answers that you knew were like, no, that can't be. So like, is it this? Oh no, I meant this. And you click there, you're like, yeah, I was right. All right. And so a lot of times you could get through that. There was a couple times where you just couldn't. It was like, how many, fucking whatever bullshit. How many of this? And it was like 3, 5, 4, 2. And I'm like, oh, I don't. It's a numeric value. I don't remember that at all. You have to do math. I don't know. It was like, so I'm like 3. I'm like, God damn! I gotta go through my phone because I already used up my one good pass. So I gotta go through my photos. What is now? No. Oh God, where was it? God, I got so many screenshots. When I was done and I deleted all my screenshots today, I did 483 screenshots.
Wow.
That's how many I took. I mean, literally, it was just like, click the slide. Oh, photo. I got to scroll down. Photo. Oh, still got to scroll up. Okay, I'm at the bottom. Boop. 3 shots for one slide sometimes. Next. But I mean, I'd have to read. I'd go next. Oh, let me take some pictures. Yeah. I just became a picture taking fool. And in the end, I really didn't even need but maybe 5 or 6 of them probably in the end.
Well, you never know.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you'd
really
regret it.
I told you to take screenshots. Yeah, my fault. Have allowed. Yeah, no, it wasn't your fault. I mean, it's good advice. That's so bad. I thought our son, too. I taught our son that too. I know, but that's okay. But yeah, it helps, man, to go back with the screenshots. But anyways, but yeah, so all right, folks. Remember, if you guys want to see more of Stacy and you want to learn some things from him, click down below. You got links to his Udemy. He's like a professor in there, man. You want to take some like college type. I'm just kidding. He's like a professor of like awesome stuff there. So go check out his classes, man. Remote viewing is my favorite. Go check it out. And guys, if you like anything that we do here, click like and subscribe on the Everything Paranormal show. Guys, don't forget, we do the Beyond the Veil show where we do tarot reading and dowsing rods a lot. Keep an eye out for that. We're always doing that live. So that's why I tell people, if you want like dowsing rod sessions and tarot, if you want to know whenever we go live, click the notification bell. That's going to let you know whenever we go live. That way you can pop on here, get you a dowsing rod session, talk to your grandma, whoever through the dowsing rods, and get you a reading, get some guidance from the tarot cards. So other than that, just love everything that we do. That's all I'm going to say. Love everything we do, please. And we will see you in the next video, guys. Remember, seek the truth.
Peace.
There it is.
There it is.